Hello, it's Lesbian Talk 118. Or should I say Lesbian Yolk? Because Haga just had to Google it. She's like, which number is this? I was like, I don't know. Hold on, I'll Google it. And she Googled Lesbian Yolk. And I was like, Lesbian Yolk. Yolk. Stop that. Don't make that noise.
I was typing really quickly in my phone and it came out weird. Luckily it came up. Luckily I found the result.
Yelp is a word I like to use a lot. I will describe people as yelping.
I'm sorry.
I think it's from that... Yeah, that's from that movie, Dead Poet Society. With Robin Williams.
Oh, the one where Robin Williams tries to teach a bunch of privileged young white boys to think outside the box by making them read other privileged white guys rather than making them actually think outside the box. It's like, you're being rebellious. You're listening to the rich white dead people that we consider a bit too much. It was just really funny.
Inasmuch as I think I was like 12 when I watched it, I really wasn't considering white privilege. But I remember there was like a line, a barbarian yelp, and he made them like get up on their desks and yelp. I just like that word ever since.
I think it's the film's funny because it's the entire point of the film is to make people think outside the box and to become free thinkers and sort of find knowledge and greatness and beauty and intellect where they don't expect. Yet what they do is they do this by finding it in all the obvious places anyway.
Doesn't it take place in the 60s or something, though?
Yeah, it's like late 50s.
I think maybe, that in and of itself was enough to get him fired. Well, he got fired because the kid killed himself at the end, but, spoilers, sorry, on an over, 25-year-old movie. But I think maybe, they would have had him, strung up as a treasonous communist if he'd mentioned, Malcolm X or something.
It's entirely possible, but I just think it's a bit self-defeating in the film's point. Is it based on a true story? Possibly.
It might be, if it's based on a true story. Write the show.
But then again, it would not be the first 1990s Robin Williams film to be based on a true story that completely fucked up reality.
What's the other one?
Well, Patch Adams and Good Morning Vietnam.
Patch Adams was based on a true story?
Yeah. Real guy. Patch Adams is...
I just remember seeing the trailer and thinking, that doesn't look very good.
Okay, here's the idea of how much they fucked up reality in Patch Adams.
This is from a Cracked article, isn't it?
No, it's not actually. The guy... Patch Adams, the film, has Patch having a love affair with woman doctor who gets killed. Mm-hmm. Like in a mugging or a carjacking or something.
In your standard 90s way to die in background.
That did happen to a colleague of Patch Adams. Mm-hmm. It was a male colleague who he had no romantic interaction with. And that's how much they completely fucked up the sort of thing. They invented a love interest and then killed him in the manner that one of his actual friends was killed.
Is Patch Adams still alive?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
He did not like the film. On Good Morning Vietnam, the guy who he was playing there absolutely.
I didn't know that was based on a true story.
He really hated the film too. 1990s Robin Williams films based on reality, never accurate.
Well, I just know when I saw the trailer for Jack, I was like, that's not how progeria works. It's not cute and cuddly. It's actually pretty horrific, and these poor kids die very young.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, that's so problematic.
And
I didn't know the word problematic back then, by the way, you guys. I'm
just
retro-ascribing my vocabulary.
I'm just saying that Dead Poet Society, you could have improved Dead Poet Society.
By making it Deadpool Society,
no.
I think.
You could have improved it as a film and kept it in line with Robin Williams' stuff being inaccurate to real events.
I should call this episode Harry Potter and Deadpool Society. But no one will get it.
Jack was directed by Francis Ford Coppola, who did Apocalypse Now and the Godfather films and Bram Stoker's Dracula.
He did Dracula, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I believe he did Jack because he had
He was drunk?
No, I think he had some sort of business venture that completely tanked, and so that was one film he did just as a director for hire. They gave him a dump truck full of money, and he recognized it was a bad idea.
Mm. And he was like, well, I got paid, so...
Yeah, I think that's one. I think Bram Stoker's Dracula is another one where he did it just for that reason.
I could see, if the movie was done about a child with progeria, played by an actual child with progeria.
Well, they'd be dead before they finished filming.
It'd have to be twins. That'd be really difficult, never mind. Oh, documentary, I guess.
Well, you could use, CGI and prosthetics and stuff on a... Honestly, CGI prosthetics on a little person. Of the right kind of little person, the ones who are not
very proportional.
Yes.
Okay. There's a specific kind of achondroplasia, and there's I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, not the type that Peter Dinklage has, but the type like the little guy in Island of Dr. Moreau had.
No, isn't that primordial dwarfism?
I have no idea about the technical name.
Because primordial dwarfism, like, you never become larger than a toddler, but then it's very, very rare for people with primordial dwarfism to, like, they usually suffer severe intellectual problems because their brain is growing larger than the skull can allow, and that usually causes issues. I saw actually a really great documentary. I think it's called The Girl Who Couldn't Grow Up. And, like, this girl, she's, like, I think, like, 10 or 12 in the documentary. But she's basically the size and mentality of a toddler and will always be.
Well,
and like, all her older siblings, like, all her bigger siblings are younger than her.
I'm not thinking...
It's really sad, though.
Not everyone who is roughly that small, though, has the intellectual problem.
No, but there's a specific thing called primordial dwarfism that... There's over 100 types of achondroplasia.
Yeah.
I saw a documentary about this years ago, and I remembered that fact.
The guy from For Your Height Only, that who's got that version of it.
He Ping Ping? Is that his name? Ping something.
I do not know the guy's name, but that's the sort I'm thinking about. You get that one to play a kid with progeria is probably the way to go if you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Because kid with progeria might not be able to handle it, and they will age
true.
literally about 6 to 10 years while you're making the film.
Yeah, the only way you could do that would be as a documentary, and that would still be really sad.
This is really depressing.
Sorry. Speaking of movies, you have to talk to Garvin about directors at some point.
Why?
Because I say that I'm always misquoting you. Because we were talking about Blade Runner, and then one of my coworkers, Steven, said he was reading How Do Android Dream of Electric Sheep, and so I don't know how we got on talking to directors, and I was like, well, Zara's always telling me about so-and-so director who basically, like, she was like, yeah, and then he kills kittens with the bodies of puppies he's already killed, and they were like, who? And I'm like, well, Stanley Kubrick, and I mentioned that he drove Shelley Duvall to a nervous breakdown.
That's true.
But Garvin said, oh, but then afterwards she spoke glowingly of having worked with him. I said, yeah, because she was afraid he was watching over her shoulder. And
also,
I said,
there's also the possibility that actors, if the good performances got out of them and they are impressed with the work, then they are more forgiving of the horrible things they went through to get to it.
Well, I said, you always tell me about all these horrible things that people do. And I used the example of the guy that was shooting the film in the jungle and he made the crew carry the ship through the jungle.
Oh, yes.
What was that one?
That was, I've forgotten the fucking... I can never remember his name. He's the German guy. Werner Herzog.
Well, what was the movie?
Fitzcarraldo.
Okay, because Garvin said Mosquito Coast, and I said, I don't know, I have to ask Sarah. So I said that you guys have to have a talk about evil directors because I'm sure I'm misquoting you.
As far as I can tell...
FYI, the entire internet...
A bunch of directors have done mad and horrible things to casts and crew and everything.
I would be like, thank you, I quit, you'll be hearing from my lawyer in the morning.
A bunch of them have done that, and, sometimes they get really good results that way. Sometimes it's just...
If you're traumatized, it's not a good result. Trauma changes the brain.
I'm talking about good result in the film.
No, but I don't... For the actor, like, wow, that was so great, I made lots of money. Now I can't sleep with the lights off.
But sometimes you got guys who do these mental things, and the resulting film isn't good. Like Heaven's Gate, Michael Cimino, he was fucking nuts on that film.
What Garvin said is, well, I mean, I got a good movie out of it, so... And I was like, yeah, but I'd be sorry. And then the bell rang for backup, we all had to go to the till.
And there was Kubrick's quote, pain is temporary, film is forever.
What a cockmaster.
I think it was Kubrick. But there's one director who I can think of who was famously horrible to people, and not even for artistic reasons, who just did it to be horrible. Yes.
Who was it?
That was Hitchcock.
Oh, yeah, you were saying that.
Like, Hitchcock, his idea of a practical joke was to bet a camera operator that he couldn't spend the night in the film studio. And then the camera operator's like, yeah, I bet I could, ha. And then Hitchcock's like, okay, fine. Good idea. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to handcuff you to your really large immobile camera just to prove that, just to show that you can't run off, to a motel or something.
A motel with a serial killer in it.
Yeah. And then... they're about to leave for the night, and the Hitchcock offers the camera operator a tot of rum to keep him warm in the night. The poor guy does not realize that it's been filled with laxatives, like liquid laxatives. So obviously they come back in the morning, and it's not very pleasant. That's the sort of shit that Hitchcock did. Hitchcock, who also used real birds to try and, kill, to behead her. And I don't know if he actually physically tried to kill her, but apparently it almost blinded her, and he did end up destroying her career afterwards.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's a serious, that's bodily injury.
Yeah.
That is assault upon a person, and it's never okay.
Yeah, Kubrick's thing is cruelty without a purpose.
Yeah, but didn't he definitely...
No, sorry. Hitchcock's one is cruelty without a purpose. Kubrick generally was cruelty with a purpose.
Well, in this day and age, you just can't treat people like that anymore. I mean, I ain't saying, I'm just saying.
You know how Lee Ermey got the role of the drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket? Because he was originally brought on as a technical director.
Wasn't he yelling at someone and they were like, hey, you should yell like that towards the camera?
No. What happened was they hired a guy to play the drill sergeant, and Lee Ermey was hired to coach him on how to be a drill sergeant.
Did he make him cry?
He was brought in to coach him, make him be realistic. Mm-hmm. Kubrick then decided that he watched him, doing it, because Lee Ermey was a drill sergeant. I think that Full Metal Jacket was his first role, and he fired the guy playing the drill sergeant because this guy was obviously so much better because he really was a drill sergeant.
Yeah.
And then his audition was, Lee Ermey was made to yell at Kubrick for 15 minutes.
Did he make him cry?
Wait, for 15 minutes. Insulting him in as many colourful ways as he could think of, without repeating, for 15 minutes while Kubrick threw oranges at him and random objects.
Did he make Stanley Kubrick cry? Did he kick him in the nuts?
He did not.
Oh.
But Lee Ermey apparently managed that feat, and that's what impressed Kubrick so much, just to give him the job.
See, that's why I always thought that if I got drafted... Okay, now I'm too old to be drafted, but if I was drafted and I had to go in the Army for some reason... I think that I would do okay at boot camp. And my best friend at the time asked me, like, are you kidding me? You are so out of shape. I'm like, okay, physically, okay, you can get in shape. I said, I think I would do well because the point of, like, the first few weeks of boot camp is to is to mentally and emotionally break you down as an individual and rebuild you as a part of this team. Right? That psychologically, that's exactly what boot camp is about, and doing that, it's just tearing all the things about you that you think are you, tearing them apart, showing that you're nothing. And she's like, okay, I don't see where you're going with this. I go, I have no self-esteem. I already know I'm trash. I'd be happily agreeing with the drill instructor and be like, you are a maggot and a piece of shit. I know, sir. It's a sin, isn't it? I do. You don't need to try hard. I know. I just really, and I think that, you think that you can do it. No, I don't, sir. And that's the problem. So
you're just waiting for a fascist state to take over so you can agree with them.
Well, here's the thing. All right, here's a story. I almost joined the Navy in my early 30s. And I think I actually would have if I'd been in shape. Like, I called a recruiter, and I was living in D.C. at the time, so it was very, very normal to just up and join a branch of the armed service. And he's like, look, I'm in love with you. You sound like you're really all about this. You're going to need to lose about 60 to 70 pounds. And then my life circumstances changed, and I didn't actually need to do, I never ended up pursuing it. But it was because the people that I lived nearabouts convinced me that, like, I was insane. I was clinically, mentally ill, but I should join the Navy.
That's give you access to torpedoes. That is a great idea.
Well, no, they wanted me to join the Navy because...
You're crazy. Here's weaponry.
Well, no, they were like, I was like, I'm not crazy. I'm on the autism spectrum. And they were like, that's just an excuse.
The chances are she'll fire those, torpedoes away from us,
Why
probably.
would I fire torpedoes at anybody?
Well, no,
I have to have special gunnery training.
I know, but their idea is if you are crazy...
I figured I'd get an IT cert out of it.
No, my point is they think you're crazy, and so their way of dealing with you was to try and convince you to join the Navy where you would have access to weapons.
Well, because one of the girls that we knew used to be in the Navy. And so because the thing was that there was me and two other people that were in a lease. And I just had the job at the bookstore, because this was right at the beginning of the crash. This was right at the beginning of the Great Recession. And just all of a sudden, nobody had money anymore. And we didn't know why. And I had no car. And it's quite expensive to live down in the area. They convinced me to be their third roommate. Oh, this will be a great plan. And they decided, they were a couple who were engaged. They decided we want to get a place by ourselves, which was great. They decided this 2 months before the lease was up, but they realized it would be a total dick move in the eyes of our entire group of friends because my credit was bad, because it was the beginning of the recession and I'd lost my job and come down to DC. I wouldn't be able to get a place, so they'd effectively make me homeless. And there'd be a real dick move to do that. However, there was a clause, because like I said, this was down in Alexandria, Virginia, right, near D.C. There was a clause that if you were in a lease and one of the people in the lease joined the service, you got a free lease break and you could sign a new lease. So they thought this would be perfect. She joins the services, I don't know how they thought I was going to lose 60 to 70 pounds in two months, but whatever. We'll get, a smaller flat, and I'm sure it'll be grand. But thank God I have a friend who actually, she works for the department, well, she used to work for Homeland Security. Now she's with a government contractor, and she has like 17,000 tech certs. And she has like top level security clearance. A wonderful friend of mine. I hope you can meet her in person someday. Who basically on New Year's Eve, she was like, everyone was like, you can't come to this party. We don't want you at this party. And she's like, I'm going to my family's party. I want you to come with. And on the way down, she's like, you want to tell me why you're trying to join the Navy? And I was like, well, no. I really feel like they'll pay for a uni. And, it'll be grand. And I'll get a tech cert. And she goes, don't ask, don't tell. And I was like, they just won't ask and I won't tell. And she's like, this is a really bad idea. There are lots of easier ways to get a tech cert. If you want to go to classes and get your A+ certification, I'm telling you right now, I will give you the money to do it. But please, please don't do this. This is a really stupid idea. Now, fortunately, I had, about a month later, we re-signed the lease, and then I had an interview with a company up in Maryland. That's when I ended up moving up to Maryland. So I didn't join the Navy, but I almost did.
Yeah, and the chances are you would not have been watching Nash's streams if you were in the Navy.
Exactly, so we would never have met. But one of the things I was kind of nervous about was...
Just think of the continuity alterations this timeline must have in my show. I will have reviewed like something mental like the Nicolas Cage Left Behind film before Left Behind 2.
One of the things that I kind of was really nervous about with the girl who'd been in the Navy tried to tell me, oh no, you can totally skate your way around this, was one thing you have to do is you have to go running into like a sealed room that it's a special kind of tear gas. A tear gas canister has been pulled, and then you have to stay in there for a certain number of seconds, and then you have to put on a gas mask and then have that on for a certain number of seconds and then take it off. I've seen that in
films
and then run out of the room.
I've seen that in films, one of the Police Academy films actually, where you're in the room to begin with and then they put the gas in and you have to stay there.
Well, I think the idea is that you have to also escape out the bulkhead.
Yeah.
Because you'll be in a ship. And also, I was pretty heavy then, and I was like, I don't know that I can, fit through a bulkhead. She's like, no, it'll be grand.
Some of your friends previously were cunts.
They weren't real friends, just people I hung out with. Not like you. You're my best friend. But anyway, in as much as we're 18 minutes into the show, talking about my past traumas and Stanley Kubrick, it's the 20th anniversary of Harry Potter's release, actually today. It's trending on Twitter and everything. So we're going to talk about Mr. Potter and Friends.
Yes, the 20th anniversary of Mr. Potter.
Do you know that, I was in the break room the other day with two of my coworkers, and we were talking, because two of my coworkers are on holiday this week, because they've gone to London to do a whole bunch of Harry Potter stuff, because they are way, way, way into it.
Harry's potted and the Philosopher's stoned.
Well, because I said, well, ha ha ha, the porn parody writes itself. And they, one of the coworkers and this other, random coworker who's not a Harry Potter person were like, what do you mean? I'm like, Harry Peter and the Philosopher's Bone? They were like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what? Harry, Harry Peter? Peter, a dick? Harry with pubes? And they were like, what? Oh, that's so dirty. And I'm like, look, I didn't make this up. I remember listening to the Y100 morning show. Actually, it wasn't it was still the Y100 morning show. When they had a thing, is it the porn parody, or is it something that Steve made up? And one of them was Harry Peter and the Philosopher's Bone. I don't remember if it was the actual porn parody or one that Steve made up, but then our boss walked in. Right as I was saying, look, I'm an adult. I can say dick if I want to. He goes, oh my god, my ears, 20 Hail Marys.
What about the porn parody, Shaving Ryan's Privates?
That had no relationship to Harry Potter, so I didn't put it
I know, but I'm just mentioning it now, for Saving Private Ryan.
No.
Or the fact that The Passion of the Christ has the greatest name because you don't actually need to change anything to make a porn parody.
That's true.
In fact, it's more accurate if it's a porn parody.
Pretty much.
But Harry Potter, I don't give much of a shit about Harry Potter. So I'm going to be cynical.
You don't have to be cynical. No, it's just that a whole bunch of my coworkers and I, occasionally when there's nothing to do, we will gather on the floor for a while until someone comes about to disperse us. And we have one of our supervisors is really great because he'll come and have nerd chat with us because he's a huge nerd. And a lot of times we get into these conversations and okay, all right, Hogwarts, right? But what about this? And so
what?
Then I'll say the thing that I'm thinking.
Okay.
So my one coworker Fiona, she's the other one that went to London. I was like, wait, how old is Harry Potter? When does it take place? She's like, hold on, I'll go look it up. because she'd forgotten. And I'm actually
probably like 11 in the first one.
Well, he was born in 1980.
Yeah, it's set in the early 90s.
Yeah, so we had to think about that. I'm a few months older than Harry Potter. I feel good about that. Why aren't I a wizard?
Although, continuity-wise, it seems to be in the films that they have various landmarks and stuff which were built after the books are set are in the film when they're flying around London. So
there's like the London Eye.
It's not the London Eye. I'm thinking about there's a particular bridge. There's a bridge over the Thames that they fly right through and everything in one film.
But like, so
sure,
I'm always like thinking about that. Okay, so we know that like the Harry Potter universe continues in the modern times because they all have kids and everything. But like, so what if you're a Muggle-born? Like, this is the one that I came up with yesterday because like, it's Pride Month. I'm like, so what if you're Muggle-born and you're queer? And like, you come to Hogwarts, you're like, oh, this is so cool. And you go to Dumbledore, you're like, I want to start like a queer alliance. He's like, wait, what? For promoting, gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans, queer, intersex, etc. And he's like, okay, what about it? And he's like, well, we should be equal. And he's like, well, in which society you are? And, and marriage equality. Yes, well, we have that. Any other question? like I could just see, like, Dumbledore, like, totally, like, not getting the point.
Well, in Wizarding Society, then if you're right, then it wouldn't be necessary. However,
I like that, like, the modern Muggle-born, like...
it would be a bit like... how do I put it? You know how in until fairly recently, Irish were discriminated against in big parts of the USA?
Yeah.
It would be like having some sort of group, celebrating Irish stuff, but then someone from that background going to actual Ireland and trying to start one in Ireland.
And they're like...
It's not... It would be important for the person who is thinking of it, because that would be part of their identity. Mm-hmm. But it's when everything else changes around them, it becomes a lot less necessary, and it would be jarring for them. It would probably some cognitive dissonance. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
I don't know. I just like that idea of like
it's a funny idea.
Or like if you like bring your smartphone, but of course you probably don't get a signal at Hogwarts. Like stealing a golden snitch and like attaching like a Wi-Fi booster to it, and then like having it hover directly above the castle so you can get a Wi-Fi signal. I'd do that. Also, techno magic.
What about their Wi-Fi signal? The Wi-Fi password is Shambhala.
Yeah, that was really great. It's the Wi-Fi password. We're not savages.
Well,
there should be more techno magic.
Harry Potter's sort of thing, world building does seem to be kind of broken in some regards. Well,
it would make sense if it took place in the 50s or 60s.
Yeah, but it would be less jarring, yes.
Like, I wonder, how old is J.K. Rowling?
She's in her 50s, I think.
Oh, so she would have been young during the 60s. Yeah. I wonder if she was drawing upon the England of her childhood.
It does seem to be. I don't know if it's the case in the film that the Dursleys are very like that, and
they
so
do
are
look
the
like
Weasleys.
They've stepped like right out of like Fetch the Midwife.
Although and so are the Weasleys, but
call the midwife. Sorry, enough.
It could be.
Why fetch the midwife? She's birthing again.
It could be that basically the Hollywood filmmakers just have these particular views of what Britain is like, and that is one of the stock views.
Alright.
So I can't really talk about whether that's in the book or not.
And we were like, so what if you're a wizard from the north, right? So you have to do like a year at the Magical Tech, and then you can transfer to uni at Hogwarts. You're like... with a horrible, like, Derry or Belfast accent.
The entire...
Can I get a sausage roll high?
The entire magical community from the British Isles goes to Hogwarts, including the Irish ones, because, like, Luna Lovegood is Irish.
Mo Sander.
She's from, like, Limerick or something.
She is?
Well, the girl who played her in the films was Irish.
Oh, okay.
That was her first acting role. She was a big fan of Harry Potter. She was from
Sligo.
She loved that character. She made her own sort of cosplay version of her outfit, and then she actually wore it to her audition and was in character the entire time.
Fantastic.
And got the role.
Good on you. But like, no, see, like, I wonder about that because like I can't help but world build. So I think of these things,
Well, Rowling does a lot of world building. It's just unfortunate that it seems to be a little bit less well thought out than some other stuff.
Like, I really wish she wasn't so famous. We could just tweet at her, like, all these questions that we have. Like, what if you, like, sneak some weed into Hogwarts, or the seeds? We're like, I forget what the name of the botany professor is. Like, I want to do a special project. Professor Sprout. Yeah, these are some really great, I want to make tea out of these. It's a muggle thing. You're, like, become the only weed dealer in Hogwarts because you're muggle-born and this shit fucks you up. Or people like casting high, that'd be fantastic.
What I don't get, and this is a problem I've had with Harry Potter since the...
Yeah, because then you could get all the house elves high, because you've given them something, and they'll just run around having fun, and like sliding down the banisters, and like...
Harry's Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Mm-hmm. In the early days of the internet, like long before I started doing my show, I found these like little parodies of things. They're like flash parodies, and one of them was Harry's Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And it was basically Cheech and Chong starring in Harry Potter. It was done incredibly low quality. It was done with like still images, Monty Python style. It was fun though.
And see, if you could get Wi-Fi, you'd be like become really famous on Instagram because you're the only person on Instagram from Hogwarts. In the age of the internet, you'd have to have like the digital Ministry of Magic to keep a clamp on everything.
Yeah.
Because like there'd have to be like the what's this generation called now? It's not millennials, but the younger ones.
I think they're still millennials.
Really?
I don't think they've actually named anything.
Like kids who are like
I don't
teens.
I don't think they've named anything.
I'm gonna call them Generation Digital. But so Generation Digital, they want to Snapchat everything. So there would be literally very difficult to keep a lid on that in some of the days of social
technology
media.
makes this sort of shit really, really hard. There was something I was importantly going to mention. It was going to be great and change everyone's lives, and I've completely forgotten.
I was talking about weed. You said Harry's Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah, it was
Flash
before
animation.
It was before that.
Oh, I like that.
God damn it. Oh yes, this is a problem I've had since Harry Potter, since I first saw the first fucking film. Before I have read the first 3 books, I think. It was years and years and years ago. I've seen the first 5.
I've read all of the books, but I've only seen the first 3 films.
But this is the problem I've had since fucking forever. Why is it that the adults in the wizarding world dress like fucking Victorians or, mental Edwardians, but the kids don't? Why is it?
It's a generational thing. Maybe because like a dress code was originally enforced when they were young, so they still adhere to it. But kids are like, "Yo, fuck this noise."
They don't wear uniforms, though. They just dress like Victorians.
Because that was like the way that their parents did it, so they thought that must be the way.
I suppose it's possible. It bothered me so much whenever there was a bit in the book. Cause I listened to the number 4 on audio when I was playing video games like Baldur's Gate or something, and there was a bit where Mrs. Weasley got really pissed off at her oldest son because he had long hair. And it's like, bitch...
So did Lord Byron.
Bitch, have you seen Dumbledore? Have you seen Snape? Have you seen fucking Lucius Malfoy? Every single man in the wizarding world, except for your husband, has long hair. I don't understand why the younger... exception of that Weasley. So it's in some occasions, people are very Victorian, and other ones they're just very modern. And there seems to be no rhyme or reason to it.
Well, it just could be a personal thing. It just could she liked him better with short hair.
No, it was because it was long hair. It wasn't like that. But
I guess I'm kind of hippie now.
If I had any kind of creative control over the films of Harry Potter, I would have basically stated, make the kids, especially the ones who are from wizarding backgrounds, make them fucking dress Edwardian from the start. And then, ones who come from Muggle backgrounds, Harry, Hermione, whatever, they dress like regular kids.
Like street kids.
And then,
street kids.
as year upon year, they become more wizard-looking. Because they're acclimatizing into the culture. If they got a separate culture, don't make it higgledy-piggledy about whether they look like Muggles or not.
Right. Well, I can see that.
Well,
another thing that
either make all the wizards look normal, or make all the wizards look like wizards. Don't fucking... It's like Star Trek Generations and the uniforms. Choose one. It's annoying otherwise.
You feel better now that you got that out?
You've seen Star Trek Generations with its uniforms?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Tangent. Star Trek Generations, they were filming it and they were like, oh man, these television, uniforms are going to look terrible on the big screen. We got to redesign new uniforms. So they redesigned new uniforms. And these ones, they were like a hybrid between the Wrath of Khan uniforms and the Next Generation uniforms. And then they did some screen tests and decided it was shit. They decided it's basically like the Next Generation ones with like a thing on their chest, like the Wrath of Khan jacket. And then they decided, okay, we'll get rid of that, although some toys were constructed of this alternate design, and you can see pictures online of what it looked like. And then they decided, okay, this uniform that we've decided will look crap on the big screen, we're going to use that, and we're also going to use some Deep Space Nine uniforms, which will also look crap on the big screen, and then we'll just make people wear them randomly, and then we will not actually create new uniforms from the Deep Space Nine style for the Next Generation cast. Oh no, we'll just get literal second-hand suits from Deep Space Nine, so they don't fit. And that's what happened with the next generation's uniforms.
Feel better after that too?
Oh yeah.
Another thing that we were talking about is, so there's only 3 schools in the Tri-Wizarding tournament, but like they never mention any other schools in Europe or like...
Well, there must be other ones.
Asia, but then I was thinking, so there's got to be at least a few Asian schools. And I was thinking they'd have like a weird like martial arts connection going on. Like instead of houses, it would be like, you know, the tiger school or the dragon school, you know, or like...
Yeah, I imagine...
Like... That'd be really cool.
I imagine their sort of setup is not going to be based on British, British schooling system, because...
No, but it would be like your martial arts school. Not like, you know how like, you know, in the martial arts movies are always like, I'm a member of I am the member of the Crane School, yes, but I have studied the tiger form.
Yeah. But that'd
be pretty cool.
The houses system in Harry Potter is based on the British sort of thing. Like my primary school did that. They didn't do they did do points, but not for like, oh, here's a random sort of person doing something 10 points to Gryffindor. It was a case of if you did things that were really, really good, like if you won an award or something, that tallies towards a point. And
my school just was devoid of fun.
Oh, no, it's the British schooling system. It's supposed to be...
It teaches you about your class.
It's supposed to teach you competition and teamwork. But like our one...
We just let our kids beat the shit out of each other.
Our one in the small village of New Buildings... Yes.
Guess when it was built? Guess when?
It's the small village of New Buildings built in the 1600s.
They're quite new, so they're really nice chippy there, though.
In the school that I went to, it had 4 houses. Not all schools do this, but mine did. You have the 4 houses, each of them named after a castle in the British Isles, and each of them were named after from one castle from each country in the British Isles. So you had House Windsor for Windsor Castle. Their colour was yellow. You had House Stirling, who were from Scotland. They were blue. You had House Dunluce, which was for Dunluce Castle in Northern Ireland, which was green.
We've only driven past it.
And the one I was in was House Harlech, which was Welsh for Harlech Castle, and colour was red. And your uniform was different depending on what house you were in. Like your tie, it was either red. It had the main colours, but also a thin banding of red, green, blue, or yellow, depending on your house.
My life would have been so great if I got to wear a fucking tie every day to school. I'd be a goddamn constitutional lawyer by now. Why didn't they use Edinburgh Castle? That's the most famous one.
They did. I don't know. I don't know why they chose the ones they did. I mean, like Dunluce is a ruin. Stirling.
It's cool though. It's all, you guys Google it. It's like drastic on a cliff and shit.
That's because it was actually in use as a regular castle, and then half it fell into the ocean during a party. Yeah. And then it was abandoned very quickly, like 300 years ago.
You can see it on the road back from Port Rush. So.
Yeah, and Windsor is obviously one of the ones that's used right now. I think Stirling as well. I have no idea about Harlech. It might be like Carnarvon, like a castle.
Carnarvon. I love saying it.
It might be a castle that's mainly used for tourism.
Probably. But and another thing, this is the thing that Fiona thought up. Okay, so this came up because we have this poster. It's for Fantastic Beasts, or actually it might not just be regular for Harry Potter, but it's like a chart of like the motions that you do for each spells. And apparently she was like doing some of them, and Chelsea came around the corner and she's like, "Are you dancing?" And Fiona's like, No. I'm
being a wizard.
And Chelsea's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I spelled." So she showed me, and then we had an important discussion. Okay, so you know the part where Hermione's like, it's not Leviosa, it's Leviosa, or however you say it, right? So does that mean that your diction counts in German as well? Because and in French from like the students from so they must learn a levitation spell. So does the actual word matter if you're using the same spell? Like, do French people have to say, I don't know what float is in French.
Well, they were Wingardium Leviosa was Latin, wasn't it?
Yeah, but
so wouldn't the French speak Latin for the spell?
Yeah, but they'd say it with a French accent, and so would Germans, because this is actually really cool research. So go on, look this up. I can't remember the woman's name, but she's done a TED Talk about this. That up until the age of 6 months, your brain automatically prioritizes human speech over other sounds. Anyway, but between 6 and 8 months, that's the sweet spot where the baby's brain locks on to phenoms specific to the native language of the area. That's why children that grow up bilingual, their brain is actually different. Like, not in, like, huge structural ways, but it's really, really cool. So, the thing is that, like, you lose... Like, if you were around people that were speaking Mandarin before that, but then, at maybe, say, age 4 months, people only spoke English around you, you would begin to acclimatize to English phenoms. That's why, like, you know, for some people in other languages, like, pronouncing certain sounds, certain phenoms, is really difficult for them. Because it's just not something that's used in their language. It's not a way they can make their mouth. So, Germans and French and Americans will all pronounce Latin differently because of the phenoms inherent in their own language, because German's not a Romance language. So, going from this, says I, and this was like my big point.
Wasn't there a lack of S sound in Latin? Wasn't it usually...
Now I have to think, hold on.
Put into a K sound in classical Latin? Or was it just C's that were K's?
No, C's, because there's no K's in Latin.
Okay.
But anyway, so this is my big point then, right? So, if it's not the word, because your pronunciation will differ depending on your region, right? The word doesn't actually matter. The word is a focus, and what actually matters is your will as the spellcaster channeling magic. Therefore, says I, and everybody agreed with me, like, oh, that's really cool. You could, if you became powerful enough, theoretically, you could get to a point where you could straight cast. You could cast without spells. You could cast without a wand. Because we know the wand has magical, magical ingredients, like magical things that are, like, griffin horns and things that are ground up into it, right? They probably function as magical amplifiers. I think if you were powerful enough, it would be possible to cast both without spells and without a wand.
It's also possible. That sounds,
just like a true mage from Mage's Ascension.
That sounds... I can't think of a reason why that wouldn't work in Harry Potter.
If you want to debate about this, if you have read the books and recently and know reason why this is wrong, comment below because I'm interested.
The other possibility is they used one of their time machine magics at some point to go back in time to get the correct Latin pronunciation, and our understanding of Latin pronunciation is wrong, and what Hermione was doing was correcting his Latin pronunciation to what was actually original.
Come on, it's like, I know, I've been there.
Because the wizards, if anyone's going to have the ability to discover what actual Latin pronunciation was, and if the words are necessary, the pronunciation is necessary, they'd be able to find it out using magic shit like
or
the
there
time
could be
turner.
like a memory that's been handed down and handed down and handed down.
Or there might be actual Romans around.
That's true, we don't know that.
So our understanding of what classical Latin sounded like might be wrong.
Aye.
And it might have just sounded like an English version of Latin.
See, I think about this stuff because way back in the day when I worked at my first Barnes & Noble, we had a really great community relations manager. Like, she was so awesome, and she had a huge house with 4 hound dogs, 4 beagles, because she loved hounds, and she had easily 100,000 books in her house. She loved obscure books. She had so many books. But she started the Harry Potter book club with a bunch of young girls who were customers, and after they read through all the Harry Potter books, they started reading other, teen fantasy and adult fantasy kind of stuff. And she said to me one day, she goes, "You play Dungeons and Dragons, right?" I said, I do, amongst other tabletop games. She goes, you can run them? I said, yeah, I do. She goes, how would you run like a Harry Potter D&D thing for the book group? And I said, it'd take me a few days of thinking, but yes. So I'm actually pretty proud of this. What I did is I took the White Wolf's D20 or D10 sheet for mortals, and then I went through. I had a PDF version of it, and I went through and I changed some stats and stuff like that, and some of the names of some of the things. Then I went to Muggle.net, and then I had to copy and paste every single thing. I couldn't just... Anyway, into a Word document. And then I took all the spells and I gave them ranks of 1 through 5, like Garu Gifts from Werewolf the Apocalypse. And then you got a spell pool, or a magic pool, that was roughly equivalent to like Gnosis, or your blood pool in Vampire. And then each spell corresponded to a magic cost. So you had a permanent magic score that could go up as you leveled up. But you had like maybe 5 temporary magics, so you could count like rank 1 or rank 4 and stuff like that. And then, see, I said it in America, right? That's where we started anyway. So this is before Fantastic Beasts, so none of that other bullshit existed that I don't agree with. Because, okay, first of all, I'm going to be politically incorrect here, so watch your butts. Like, I disagree with the American word no-mage, like, meaning muggle. And the reason I disagree with that is we're Americans, and we are up our own asses, and it wouldn't be a word like no-mage, it'd be a fucking slur. And if you think hard enough...
Maybe no match is a slur.
No, but, like, it would be a bad slur. Because, like, you know how we love our slurs. You know how we love to categorize people. I said this at the till once to Johnny and Fiona, like, oh my god. I said, think of the worst American slur you can and put M on the... They're like, oh my god, you're right. I'm like, we would. We're assholes. We'd do it. But anyway.
Wait, so how would you pronounce it?
I'm not going to say it.
No. I know you're taking the worst American slur. Okay, I know what that is. And then just replacing the first letter with an M.
M.
But they have no magic, though.
No, yeah, but, like, it would be a slur. It wouldn't, like, Muggle does not have a connotation of no magic.
It's supposed to evoke one, though. Yeah. To some level.
It's just, they'd have a cute little name that sounds like a wee cuddly licensed character from the 80s. We'd have a slur. But, so, no, it was really cool. So I had, like, the 4 houses, but they were kind of like, there were 3 American schools of magic. There was Goody Elspeth Finishing School, and that was in Salem, Massachusetts. And, yes, actual Salem, not the town that, you know.
Not Danvers.
Not Danvers. There was Old Homestead, which was in the Midwest, which is kind of like your state school for wizards. And then there was, I can't remember the name of it, but there was a voodoo school down in New Orleans. There's also the Citadel in northern Canada, and there was Quetzalcoatl in South America to flesh everything out.
It
wasn't done yet. Okay. But no, it's because I really rarely get to like expound like this to people that actually have no choice to listen because, you know.
They have a choice. They could turn it off.
They're like, fine, shut up, Omega. No one cares.
The only one who doesn't have a choice is me.
That's true. So anyway, wife. No, but it was really cool. So instead of the 4 houses, it had kind of like 4 factions. And there was the Widdershins. And they were devoted to like the traditionalist, like American folksy ways of magic, you know?
Factions.
Yeah. And then there was the Board. And they were like total like corporate asshole. Like, let's use magic for worldly gain. And their wands were like metal.
I want to be abjugation.
No, you can't be abjugation. This is not that. Then there was shoot. What was I forget? There was the Web Kids, and they were basically like extreme techno, like younger techno mages that like embraced the internet and all this kind of stuff.
I've heard of the term techno mage being used a lot. Babylon 5 used it. A lot of people use that sort of thing. I never understood why people use the word techno mage instead of technomancer.
Is
that not a much cooler name?
I say techno mage because my first default is to say the technocracy from White Wolf.
But does technomancer not sound better?
It does. They're interchangeable, really. I just say technomage because that's the one I've always said. But
technomancer.
So there was the Web Kids, and then there were the Degenerates, and they were basically like magical Hell's Angels bikers, and they lived like for pleasure and debauchery and stuff like that. And so the first, basically, like all the kids like play these characters who are, you know, have found out, oh, you've got magic, and you're going to be sent. They're all going to be sent to Goody Elspeth. Well, a war breaks out among the factions, where the Board start to use the Degenerates as foot soldiers, and the Web Kids and the Widdershins, who are underpowered, are trying to like, oh shit, and get as many people as they can out of the country. So basically, mid-flight, they are rerouted to Heathrow.
This is the plot to Divergent.
Yeah, they are rerouted to Heathrow. And some British mages meet them, some British wizards meet them and say, look, you know, we heard that war's broken out in America. We're part of a kind of underground railroad. We'll just take you to Hogwarts. You get some education there while things, you know. So then they still get sorted into houses and everything like that. I thought it was a really good way to bring everything together, and I was fucking pleased with myself. And
I think it was impressive.
All the kids had a lot of fun, and there was a self-insert werewolf that I played because I'm the ST and fuck you, I can do it. So now say all the things you wanted to say.
Honestly, I can't remember most of it, but it honestly sounds a little bit more well thought out than a lot of J.K. Rowling's American magic that she did.
But fair enough, she's not American, so she can only see American culture from the outside.
Plus, she kind of was a bit iffy about Native American stuff.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, is like...
She sort of connected Native American actual religion with magic, which she didn't do that with Christianity. You know, she did not state in Harry Potter that Jesus was actually a wizard.
Yeah.
Which she probably should have. That would have been funny.
The thing that I took into consideration is, like, Quetzalcoatl obviously was, you know, more, like, South American indigenous-based. And, like, the Citadel, like, did have aspects of Inuit and I can never pronounce the name of the tribe, but they were in Vancouver. But here's the thing is, like, the only real magic that I could think of that was kind of like, not really native, but, you know, was voodoo, brought up from Haiti and stuff like that. So I was like, you know,
Voodoo's still a religion.
Yeah, I know. So I guess I was a little bit inappropriate. But it's a religion, but it does involve magic.
Well, then again, almost every religion
And the reason
involves
I
magic.
know this is because... Well, no, like, for reals,
Well, because, you know, Christianity, it's got, you know, all-powerful super king of the thing who couldn't do miracles. Christianity,
well, there's the transmutation,
the only difference between a miracle and magic is what fucking M word you use for it.
Yeah, but, like, okay, so...
They're both suspending natural laws to do the will of some super powerful being.
My best friend in high school, like, after high school, she worked at Harry's Occult on South Street in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And one of the people who worked there was an actual Haitian voodoo.
That's cool.
And then she did describe what she did as magic of the gods. Okay. She was really cool, too. Well, she was really old and everything.
That's really good then, because I know a lot of Christians get really upset if their stuff is described as magic. Well, but when technically every theistic religion must involve some degree of magic.
Well, she gave me a book about voodoo, and basically a lot of it is humans using the abilities of the gods to do things and stuff. That's like what I got.
Like people
That's
praying,
what I got from the book.
Like people praying to Yahweh or Jesus or
like,
a saint
like,
to get some sort of result.
No, like there's stuff that you go into. There's like an actual dance where you like drink a lot of rum and you make all these sacrifices and like smoke cigars to be ridden by a specific god. But that's just for him. Like there's like
to get the Loa to possess you.
to go into you and give you stuff.
I'm not seeing much in the way of difference between that and there's no possession involved. Not deliberate possession involved in Christianity. But
well, I guess if you speak in tongues, you're possessed by the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, that is Pentecostalism, yeah.
It gets weird, though. Okay, so one time, you guys, right? Background, I got kind of seduced into the Catholic youth group in high school. Long story.
Seduced.
I know I've told this story before. So I ended up at this Catholic conference, and it went to... Okay, so my grandmother was Catholic. She was a Polish Catholic. She married an Irish Catholic. So they're like the old country Catholics where, like, you just were and you didn't talk about it. But, like, these people were, like, almost evangelical. It was getting kind of freaky. And the one night, we had this thing where they had the host in, like, this big sunburst thing, and they carried around with incense and sprinkling people with holy water. And it was really creepy because people started... people I knew who were rational human beings started falling down and crying and laughing and speaking in tongues. I think it was, like you know, hysterical reaction, like, you know, like mass hysteria kind of thing. Also brought into the fact that we were in a tent in the summer and full of incense. But it made me really scared because I was like, oh my god, everyone around me is having a psychotic episode.
Part of it is probably stage hypnosis too.
Yeah, it really made me feel really weird. I couldn't wait to get home because there was a LARP I was going to afterwards.
And just so you guys know, stage hypnosis is basically peer pressure crossed with some sort of an authority figure, and you want to do what they say, and you've got an audience. But yes, the things I was
I mean, if you've spoken in tongues and I offended you, I'm really sorry, but it really, really scared me in high school.
But the things I was going to mention.
Go on, yes.
There was in Series 3 of American Horror Story, Coven, there was, if I remember correctly, the Salem witches all moved down to New Orleans because there wasn't many left of them afterwards, and they sort of teamed up with the voodoo ones there and sort of started their own little school, and that's the whole plot. It's basically like a coked out soap opera about witches in New Orleans, and one of the supporting characters is Madame Lalaurie, who was the really cruel woman who was killed and whose house was destroyed and she ran away in New Orleans. Remember we saw her house?
Yeah.
Yeah, her.
If you're ever in New Orleans, do the voodoo tour, do the ghost tour. It's worth it, even if just for the history alone. It's fantastic.
She's a main character played by Kathy Bates, and Angela Bassett plays the voodoo queen of New Orleans, whose name escapes me at this moment. Remember we saw her.
Yeah, grave? She has a French name.
We saw her grave full of stuff on it. She's a main character too.
I kind of wanted to do something also, but your man was watching. I was like, no. Also, there were a lot of wasps there.
But there was that.
That's unrelated to voodoo. They were just wasps in New Orleans.
And the new thing, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, Scorpius Malfoy is played by this guy from Belfast. So I really want to see him going like, "You see there, Potter, you filthy mudblood. Now surrender." Aye.
People are really pissed off because we had Cursed Child in hardcover because it's not been released in paperback on offer for the longest time. It first came out, it was fucking half price. It was $9.99, and now it's back up to full price. And now everyone's snotty about it, and people are like, "Oh, but it's just the screenplay. It's just the script of the play." And the first
it's not a book.
I know. And the first Fantastic Beasts book that came out was just the screenplay. I mean, they actually now have released the original Fantastic Beasts that used to come in the old pack that we used to sell. But, like, I'm just shut up. If you, either you care or you don't. Although, what we do have at the shop right now is really awesome, except I'm not dropping $14.99 on it. It's pound sterling. But it's a huge mug with, like, 2 handles, and it's got 3 cauldron feet, and it's big enough that you could use it as a bowl, except it's got the Hogwarts crest on it, so it's $14.99 sterling. So I was like, oh, I said to Garver, wouldn't it be great to eat soup out of this? He's like, I don't know why you think these things. I'm like, I think about food. Now that I'm not fat anymore, I talk about food a lot. But yeah, Harry Potter. I mean, I'll be honest, like, I had read the first 2 books and I thought they were great. I bought the 3rd book to read on holiday once, read the first 3 pages and fell asleep on the beach. Got fantastically sunburned though. And then just never managed to get back to it until a few weeks before the last one came out. And everyone I worked with at Barnes & Noble was like, Spickle, you can't do this without having read all of them. And I was like, you're right. So in like a week, I read 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then the 24 hours after 7 came out, I felt like I had to stay up and read 7.
Harry Potter is very similar to The Worst Witch.
It is. It is.
Yes.
But the problem is that, like, because we have all the Worst Witch books at work, at my shop, we sell them. And I kind of feel like the movie really sold the series short.
The movie I reviewed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a TV movie. It was just made, and there was a TV show as well. At least there actually might have been 2. But honestly, I think part of the reason Harry Potter took off and The Worst Witch didn't, it's going to at least partially be down to sexism.
You really think so?
Well, yeah, because it's not just
Sabrina the Teenage Witch was huge in America.
Yeah, in America, and yeah, but this one is it's a series of books. Plus, the age is skewed younger.
Yeah.
Plus, you've got they got the Worst Witch in the title, so that sort of feminizes it from the outset. Like J.K. Rowling, she had to change her name as an author to the initials because they were worried people wouldn't buy a book with a woman's name on it.
Quite honestly, that's really common.
I know it is, but I'm using it. The fact that it exists other places doesn't discount the fact that...
Like the book that I'm working on, I intend to publish it under A.E. Byron. Because if you're writing in science fiction or fantasy, and you're a woman, you almost kind of have to.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that it's not a thing that happens. What I'm saying is that...
What is J.K. Rowling's real name?
Joanna Kathleen, I think.
Oh, okay.
But my point is that, as far as I'm concerned, that's back up to my idea that you put quote-unquote female in the book, it does less well than Harry Potter, which is gendered male.
It's possible,
Harry Potter.
But like I would wager to say that Harry Potter fandom has got to be, I would say 65-45 split female to male. I'm not.
What I'm saying doesn't actually make any comment on that at all. What I'm saying is, why did it kick off at the start? The fact that the fandom continues because apparently they're very well written.
Yeah.
But why did it spark up in a way that The Worst Witch didn't?
I don't know. There's a lot of things you ask yourself. Why did Twilight take off like it did?
Yeah, it's another possibility.
But yeah, I mean...
Like, I don't think that's the only reason The Worst Witch, didn't spark up the way that Harry Potter did. But I think it's at least part of it.
It's possible. Or it just hit, like, one of those, like, chaos theory, just perfect storm of all these little... I mean, she repped it to a whole bunch of people that said no first. Yeah. But they're sorry now. Plus,
Worst Witch had an entirely female cast and stuff like that.
That's true. Except for one person.
Yeah, Tim Curry.
It's so cringy. It's so cringy because he's like, I'm Tim Curry and I exude sexism. Or it's not sexism. I exude sexuality from like a rapport. But it's really creepy when it's with little girls.
It was awesome.
No, it's creepy.
With Fruza Balk.
Oh, so creepy.
The TV movie, I can't remember if that was actually made for American TV or British TV, or was it actually theatrical?
I don't know. I remember
or was it a direct-to-video?
I remember watching it on the Disney Channel in the mid-'80s.
Because the only main cast
and then when you talked about it, I was like, oh my god, I think I saw that when I was a kid.
The only main character who seems to be American is Fruza Balk. Everyone else does seem to be British.
It might have been a BBC presentation. I don't know. I mean, like, the only thing that I really remembered about it until you talked about it was the scaring contest. It's like, fuck, I remember that movie. Oh, and then I watched it with you, and I was like, oh, so cringy. So very cringy. Although, I've heard good things about The Magicians, the Lev Grossman series, which is basically like Harry Potter, but for adults and cynical and snarky. but I'm hesitant to read them. I know there's been a Netflix series. I'm hesitant to read them because apparently it's one of those where like all the characters are fundamentally people you can't empathize with and kind of bad people, and I'm like, oh.
Oh, they're all terrible.
No, I can get behind some people. It's like I liked Wicked, but only because I wanted to find out what was going to happen to their world, and eventually I just gave up 2 chapters into Lion Among Men because Maguire is just such. His characters aren't. They're a collection of convincing character flaws. Everyone is. You just can't empathize with anyone. And I got and I got through Son of a Witch. I waded through Lion Among Men. I'm like, oh my god, I just can't. I'll read the wiki when it's done. And I did. But yeah. I mean, I really hope that like she goes on to write more stuff. I mean,
Rowling?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the whole Robert Galbraith thing.
I really hope that
I thought that was really funny.
I really hope that one day she realizes the irony in her hating Jeremy Corbyn, because she was all like, Jeremy Corbyn, this is terrible, he's too left-wing, he'll never do anything, blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, someone pointed out to her on Twitter, and she didn't reply to it, and I really wish she had. It was, JK, are you thinking that there might be something weird about the fact that you got this guy that you were convinced was a bad guy for so long, might be the guy who's key to saving everyone? Are you seeing any irony here?
Here's the thing about celebrities that we forget. They are entitled to be wrong.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, it's good when they're Bill Nye is really good about this because he was really anti-GMO, and then he looked, for years, and he looked at a lot of the peer-reviewed literature, and he came out and was like, you know what? I've changed my opinion. I've decided that I was wrong. Now that I've looked at the evidence, in the manner of a scientist, my previous opinions were wrong.
Yeah, and then I'm people are allowed to be wrong, and
as long as they admit it and abase themselves on Twitter.
I just think it's funny that
I know.
She treated Corbyn. The similarity between Corbyn and Snape in her mind, it's pretty funny.
But yeah, so that's what we have to say about that. We probably should watch all the movies eventually.
I have all the Harry Potter films in a box set. I'm planning to watch them at some point. I bought them in the hope that one day we'd do a marathon of them all. I want to do the Hunger Games as well.
I'd be down for the Hunger Games.
Because then we can do like what we did with Police Academy and all.
Yeah. Have they finished? They finished all the Hunger Games movies.
Yep, I've got them all there.
Right, because didn't they have to recast Philip Seymour Hoffman's character?
No, they gave some of his dialogue to someone else. He filmed most of his stuff before he died.
Oh, that's good at least. Well, I've heard good things about Hunger Games. I want to read them eventually.
We watch the Hunger Games films and the Japanese versions, Battle Royale 1 and 2.
Mm. Well, in all fairness to Suzanne Collins, she was already a well-established children's author for the Gregor the Overlander series about a wee baby dragon. So fair play to her.
Was that strikingly similar to a Japanese series as well?
No, it's about a wee baby dragon having adventures. No, I mean, here I'll tell you what. When back in the day, before Hunger Games came out, back when Stephen King still did his column for Entertainment Weekly, he was talking about how he was doing a book signing at a bookstore. He didn't say it was Barnes & Noble, I could tell. And how he said, always trust booksellers because they know everything. One of the employees kind of subtly said, Mr. King, we got this galleon. I think you really enjoy it. And he gave him because we get the pre-release books in the hopes that we'll read them before they're released and then want to sell them to people when they come out. And he read Hunger Games, and he goes, this is going to be amazing. I fell in love with this. I think this is great. I think you'll think it's great. And she's going places, and it did.
Stephen King had a similar effect, actually, on the original Evil Dead.
Good. I like Stephen King. I think he's a good guy.
I believe his quote that was on the poster was something along he was big for Evil Dead. I can't remember the quote. The quote I'm thinking of was him basically doing the same thing again for Clive Barker.
Oh, okay.
I've seen the future of horror, and his name is Clive Barker. I don't know why Stephen King sounds like that.
Yeah, he's from Maine.
Sounds like a terrible impersonation of Mark Twain.
I don't know how I feel about The Gunslinger, though. I've never read any of the books.
Apparently the Dark Tower film, is not even an adaptation of any of the Dark Tower. It's a sequel. So, remember we were discussing ages off camera about how the Dark Tower seems to be a really stupid thing to translate. If you're going to do a Stephen King film, why choose that?
Yeah.
This makes it even worse.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I've never read any of the Dark Tower. I think I read the first chapter of The Gunslinger. I borrowed it from someone else and I had to give it back. I just don't I don't know. Like, I've never gotten into. I know it's him doing fantasy, but like a lot of people have their favorites. Like some people won't read his short stories. They say, oh, only his novels are good. Some people say only his short stories are good. I don't know. I never got into it. I never wanted to get into it. I never felt like, because I really enjoy everything he's done. But I'm like, I could take it or leave it. And there's just a problem that I don't know what's wrong, but very few people can successfully adapt Stephen King, and I don't know why. I do not know why.
Well, same sort of thing with Lovecraft.
Like, I mean, the best adaptation, I think, was The Green Mile.
One guy is probably the best at doing Stephen King adaptations, and he did The Green Mile.
I love The Green Mile. I thought the casting was fantastic for that.
Frank Darabont. He did the probably 3 closest and most well-regarded Stephen King adaptations. All 3 of them. I mean, good film, close to the source material, and well-liked, generally, as an adaptation. Green Mile, The Mist, Shawshank Redemption.
Fair enough. I've never seen Shawshank Redemption. I never read it.
Shawshank was good.
Or the short form.
But, yeah, Frank Darabont is Mr. Stephen King.
But anyway, my traumatic nearly joining the services to Harry Potter to Stephen King. That's been us this week, guys. I'm sure you guys have lives to get back to. So that has been us, Lesbian Talk, episode 118. Honey, I have been the Omega Geek, and who do you want to have been this week?
Oh, Frank Darabont. Then I would have directed The Mist, and that would have been awesome, because The Mist is the best Stephen King adaptation.
It actually was pretty good.